Today we're looking at the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments and how the gains they were designed to make became nullified by systemic racism. First up, the 13th Amendment passed in 1865 to officially abolish slavery and involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for a crime. Sounds great, right? But here's the catch. The exception for the punishment of a crime opened a loophole. Many black Americans were arrested for minor offenses, then leased out to businesses or plantation owners as a part of a system called convict leasing, creating a system that would become known as slavery by another name and was oftentimes more deadly and violent than slavery itself. Next up is the 14th Amendment, ratified in 1868. It granted citizenship to all persons born or naturalized in the United States, including former slaves. It also guaranteed equal protection of the laws. But here's the downside. Despite the 14th Amendment, Southern states enacted Jim Crow laws creating racial segregation. While technically everyone was equal under the law, these laws enforced racial separation and inequality. In 1873, the Supreme Court made a decision that would severely limit the reach of the 14th Amendment, the slaughterhouse cases. These cases involved disputes about monopolies in the New Orleans meat industry, but had far-reaching implications. The court ruled that something called the Privileges and Immunities Clause of the 14th Amendment only protected rights granted by the U.S. Constitution and not by individual states. This ruling restricted federal intervention in state affairs and made it difficult to combat racial discrimination at the state level. Another critical Supreme Court case were the civil rights cases of 1883. These cases addressed the Civil Rights Act of 1875, which aimed to stop racial discrimination in public places. However, the Supreme Court ruled that the 14th Amendment only gave Congress the power to intervene in cases of state, not individual discrimination. This meant that private acts of racism, like restaurants refusing to serve a person of color, couldn't be directly tackled by federal law. This decision left many individuals vulnerable to discrimination and rolled back much of the progress that had been made. Finally, the 15th Amendment was passed in 1870 and gave African American men the right to vote. But here's what really happened. Southern states got creative and found ways to bypass the 15th Amendment. They used poll taxes, literacy tests, grandfather clauses, and straight-up terrorism to suppress the black vote, maintaining their hold on power. These amendments were meant to be landmark changes, but their impact was minimized by systemic racism and legal loopholes. It's crucial we remember this when studying history. Progress isn't always straightforward.